Good afternoon. I'm Al McFarlane. Welcome to Conversations with Al McFarlane. This is the third, I think, in our new series on COVID-19. We're calling this the Conversations with Al McFarlane Town Hall Meeting on COVID-19. Our intent is that every day between now and the end of the year, we will invite colleagues, friends, business owners, agency heads, regular citizens, church leaders to come on and talk about what they are doing, what we are doing to take ownership of our space, our health, our community, to engage in creating narratives that enable our communities to succeed, to move safely into a future, to be conscious of the science, to adopt the protocols, and to be aware of discoveries and therapies and medicines that can help us survive the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm pleased to have as a guest for today's program a good friend and a business leader. I call her, what's the right word? She's like a tornado, like a whirlwind, a force. That's the right word. Force of nature. That's the right word to use. Sharon Smith-Akinsanya. She is the founder and owner of the Ray McKenzie Group. It's a multimedia marketing and communications firm that does phenomenal work in bringing people together, ideas together, strategies together, and delivering results for her customers, her clients, and delivering opportunity for the consumers in our marketplace. Sharon, unmute your mic and say good afternoon to me. First of all, thank you so much for being here. And let me introduce you to my colleague on the program, is Brenda Gray. Brenda Lyle Gray is writing. She's a columnist for Insight, and she's the writer on this project, writing the stories about our conversation. So Sharon, meet Brenda. Brenda, meet Sharon Smith-Akinsanya.
Well, thank you so much, Al, for having me. And so nice to meet you, Brenda Gray.
You
so
too.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So
Al, that was a wonderful introduction, Al. I'm just saying.
I know I've got to play that back.
I know.
I tell you, I'm in graduate school.
Well, and I'm not done because you do so much and you do it so well.
Thank you.
And you are so clear, you're so focused, and you're so comfortable in your own skin and what you do and in who you are. And that, Sharon, I admire. But talk about the work you're doing right now, like I am, working with and through the state to address the problems created by the COVID-19 pandemic.
You know, I was so honored to have the opportunity to, be one of the agencies along with Insight News and others to address this issue. COVID-19, as everybody knows by now, has disproportionately impacted Black and Brown people. We're dying at record rates. We're getting infected at record rates, disproportionate rates as a percentage of our population, as compared to our white counterparts. And we're being in hospitalized at record rates. Like it's just really ravaging our community, and it's a nightmare. And it's also impacting our small businesses as well. So to be asked to be a part of getting the word out about how to save ourselves, it was very important. So we actually just put together a campaign, Al, as you know, and we just dubbed it COVID and Black. So we can make some noise around, here's what we need to do to save ourselves. Nobody's coming to save us. We need to make sure that we're wearing our masks. We need to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to make sure that we're sharing safety tips in our community. So my agency just put together a series of messages, around mask wearing, the simple stuff, hand washing, making sure that we are stop gathering together. We're social people. I want to hug you too. But we just had to be safe. And so the state of Minnesota, as you know, wanted to engage partners like, McFarlane Media, as well as Ray McKenzie Group and others, to put together culturally specific messages to make sure that those messages were seeping into our community in a way that we would receive them. Because traditionally, Al, we're distrusting, of the medical community and doctors and hospitals. And so it was really critical that we get these messages out to our community that this is real, the virus is real, and it's killing us at record rates because of our underlying health disparities and just the nature of, just how we came to this country. And we just haven't been able to catch up with regard to equality as it pertains to preventative healthcare and more. So my agency, along with others, are putting together these key messages to make sure in video form and, graphic form and social media, interviews, anything we can do to make sure that we're reaching the African-American community specifically.
Any discoveries along the way, people responding to the messages or responding to being part of the messages you've created, which are quite unique and quite engaging?
Thank you. Yes, the artist community, has been really responsive in helping us elevate the importance of following the CDC guidelines and really keeping ourselves safe. And they've been really, really excited about lending their voices, lending their images and their influence to make sure that they're doing what they can to help keep the community where they live and where they love safe. And the response to those artist messages have been incredible. We've had, Niles and T. Michael, and of course, Senator Bobby Joe Champion, and so many, that have come on board, Ashley DeBose and others that come on board to help us with these key messages, our local rock stars right here in our own backyard. And as we have a substantial social media network between McFarlane Media and the work that we're doing at Ray McKenzie Group, we've been able to capture as partners those responses. And I can tell you that the community has been wildly responsive to those, making masks sexy. They love that one, because we've been showcasing the mask, because you don't have, you have to wear it, but you can make it cool.
That's
So
right.
we've been, showing different ways, so masks are the new sexy kind of thing. So we've been showcasing different ways to keep safe and stay fashionable. And so those have been really popular.
If you can probably screen share some of your images, if you have any available there. I should have asked you before.
Oh yeah, but you know what? Since I have the 13 people that work for me, I'm not sure where. I don't know where everything is, but I could. But hopefully they're listening. And before we get off, we can show some of that. But we love the mask is the new sexy and some of the audios that we've been doing. I may be able to find them. I may be able to find
Sure, we can. And so we talked about small business, the impact of COVID-19, and what I've been hearing and knowing and talking with my colleagues about, Sharon, is we're really in a twin pandemic. There is the immediate of COVID-19, but one of the pastors on this show a couple of days ago, you might know him from the Minnesota Church Center over in Franklin, was talking about the second pandemic, and that's the pandemic of 1619.
Absolutely.
So COVID-19 and 1619.
1619, that's correct.
Yeah, our people, and we've been in that and suffering through it, surviving it miraculously, but now those things converge and it makes life very difficult. I say, let's not be stymied by it, but let's find how the strength that we've always had will take us higher and take us to being our real and true selves. What do you think?
You know what? You bring up a really good point, Al. I think that we all, we know it intuitively, but we forget 1619 happened. That was when the first slaves, rolled up on the shores of Virginia. It happened, in shackles, and that is why, I think the 1619 Project is so critical. And I share that magazine, with my clients, because it appears that when George Floyd happened, it ripped the Band-Aid, off of everything. And people went, oh my God, this is really happening. Black folks are being mistreated. This is nuts. But it's been happening ever since 1619, systemic racism in this nation. It's how it was founded and built, and so it's just, we have not caught up. It has not really been acknowledged. But now there's starting to be some cracks where people are actually starting to say Black Lives Matter out loud, and it's not a cuss word, and starting to say systemic racism without flinching. And starting to say that this is not right, and we need to stand up and say something and do something so that we can all feel safe in this nation called America. And so we are in the middle of twin pandemics, the systemic racism as well as the pandemic itself that has really disproportionately impacted our families and our businesses. And when those businesses, go ahead, Al.
Talk about businesses. We're on the same page here.
Okay.
I think we owe it to ourselves to make the case for businesses in our community.
Absolutely.
You and I are entrepreneurs, but
Yes.
we know that the entrepreneurial spirit is something that really ought to be nurtured, expanded, grown in our community. I mean, what if at some point in time, Sharon Smith-Akinsanya, our people would be described in the world as, oh, Black Americans, those entrepreneurs.
Absolutely.
That's
I would
how
love that.
we want the world to see us and know
that's
us.
exactly
That's
right.
who we are.
That's it. That is who we are, because we know how to put stuff together. We know how to make things happen. But we also deserve to have opportunity, right? And access to capital. And what happened in the pandemic, some of our businesses had to shutter and close, and we didn't get access to that first tranche, if you will, of the PPP money that was out there to help make sure that we stayed afloat. A lot of it had to do with the fact that we didn't have direct banking relationships, or we didn't have relationships with CDFIs. So we have to do some things on our end as well, but that doesn't excuse the fact that we didn't come up with a way to make sure that money trickled down to every single business that needed that opportunity. We just didn't think it through, and there was a better way to do that. And in fact, that second tranche of PPP money, for some reason, 60 billion was still in the pot. We didn't even use it all. So I don't quite get that, but we are entrepreneurs, and we are resilient, and we need to work together, and we need to do whatever it takes to make sure that we're getting the information that we need to know to rebuild those businesses. And in the words of Joe Biden, not to get in the campaign, but I love that Build Back Better.
I love it too.
I love that Build Back Better. I told him I was going to have to borrow that now. I'm sorry, but I love that Build Back Better, because that I think that resonates with us, and we have to be determined. And I don't want anybody listening to you and I, Al, to be afraid of asking, where can I go? Because all this grant money's been floating around, and sometimes we get the email, sometimes we don't. Share it with your fellow business owners, please. Make sure everybody's getting the information, and our policymakers, and they're starting to mention us. Like when they're talking about the packages and stuff, Al, we got to make sure we get money to small business. This is good.
That's right.
They're starting to mention us, but we got to make sure it's getting down to the ground, where we are, to the t-shirt dude, we want
and they say us by name. Give Al a call, give Sharon a call.
That's right.
And
that's right.
how this thing has to work, where we become so familiar, and people become so familiar with us.
Yes.
They know that we are the genuine and bona fide gateway to the mind and hearts of our community, because we represent the interest, the legacy, the history, and we also are shaping and allowing and helping our people shape, co-author futures in which we win. That's what I believe.
I believe that too.
And so, Sharon, I was talking to my contact at the Department of Health this morning. I do a Friday morning check-in just to manage our contract. I'm thankful for the contract that I have in the business I'm doing, but I also think there should be more. And I'm saying to my contact at the department, what are we going to do in 2021? Right now, the contracts that you and I have, at least mine for sure, I'm presuming yours too, run through the end of the year.
Correct.
But COVID's going to be around January 1.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be worse than it has ever been, because we'll be experiencing in the middle of the height that comes from the boost that came from Thanksgiving, and getting ready to move into the next pressure that comes from Christmas and New Year's. And so our communities already, we know, are doubly impacted. We're going to have more pressure, more death, more sickness, more hospitalizations, and we have more obligation and duty to communicate to our people the seriousness, the breadth of this problem, and the need to do the protocols, number one, to stay safe, and to be aware about both therapies and vaccinations as they unroll. So there's a greater need for Sharon Smith and Al McFarlane, I believe. What do you think about that?
I would agree with you. I mean, it's, the messengers are critical in this next phase. It's about to be off the charts with those things that you just shared. And I had a conversation with my contract manager as well. And I just asked a question, point blank, period. Will there be more revenue coming to make sure that we can get the word out about vaccines, dialing back, whatever the key messages are, because how our people are going to be reacting with all of this information, all of the just skepticism around taking this vaccine is going to take us to do a lot of work to make sure that our people believe and trust,
right,
in the vaccine, number one. And then how is it going to get to our community? So once we get that accomplished and then have them trust in it, then we have to work together to figure out how we're going to get the vaccine to the communities. And so everybody can have access to it. And she said that she thought that there would be, obviously she wanted to be very careful in her response to me since things weren't, but I feel optimistic. And I've also been lobbying, the SBA as well, to make sure that, I know that there's nothing you guys can do until Congress gets their act together. But this thing isn't over on the small business side. We need more grants. We need more disaster dough. We need more PPP, whatever you got. And opportunity from you too, to do business with the SBA to make sure that we're getting the word out about what the opportunities are.
And I think our unique responsibility includes letting our people know about these resources.
Yes.
And encouraging our people to understand that these resources exist for us as well as them. Because in the past, our experience has been, even if white folks got it, that didn't mean we would get it, right? It's actually been truer that what they could do, we couldn't do.
Right.
And so our people are kind of used to not even asking sometimes. That's what we got to change. And it's a question of communicating and creating a new narrative that
we have to change,
walks us through and toward our destiny.
And that is why, there are so many advocates, like you and myself. I mean, we can start with the two of us and then we can move things, forward, but you got to ask. Nothing beats a failure but a try. You cannot suffer in silence. It's not allowed anymore. You have to open up your mouth. Y'all know this, closed mouth, what? Don't get fed. You already know these things, because we're the same, right? So we have to make sure that we are, not only, reaching out, Al, you and I, but really having open arms to make sure that people can call us, and email us. I'm open booked on LinkedIn. You can email me. My calendar's open. Everything's open. So it's just reach out, and ask the question.
Yeah.
And then we also try to make sure, between McFarlane Media, the work that David's doing, the work that we're doing, the Ray McKenzie Group, to make sure we get those messages out in social as well.
Well, I want to take a minute just to tell people who are listening, who are business owners or agency heads, do reach out to Sharon Smith-Akinsanya at the Ray McKenzie Group. We need to upgrade our both intent and our activity around communications. And we have phenomenal communications experts, leaders on the ground here in community. And I point to Sharon Smith-Akinsanya as one of the people in front of that. And so it makes sense for you, if you're a business owner, to reach out to Sharon Smith-Akinsanya, to have her help both look at your messaging, your strategies, your tools, and to do the business with her. This is about us doing business with us.
With one another.
That's how we create and build economies. So Sharon, keep on doing the good work. I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the powerful, I think, principled leadership at the legislature. You and I are both friends with Senator Bobby Joe Champion and Senator soon to be former Senator Jeff Hayden. Rena Moran.
Marissa.
Yep.
We got so many that has helped us. Her. So many that have helped us, and kind of usher the powers that be to make sure that they understand that in all that big giant thing that they have to solve, over the state, don't forget that we got to drill down. We got to have a pot of money specifically to make sure that we can communicate culturally in a culturally specific way to our communities of color. And those policymakers, they knocked it out of the park for us,
And so you and I have to be part of that generation of Black entrepreneurs who talk about the money,
Yes.
the business. In the old days, you would hear people saying, "Oh, it's not about the money. I'm
Yeah,
just doing this because I want to do it and I want to feel good and it's God's work." And yes, that's true, but it is about the money.
it
It's,
is.
it's about the revenue. And I tell people this, Sharon, I say, like everybody else, I would love for there to be a cancer pill. You take the pill,
Yes.
you don't have cancer, you live another 40, 50, 100 years, right? But the road from there to here is a $1 trillion industry. Witness Mayo Clinic.
There you
Uh,
go.
mission is to solve the problem of cancer. It's been around X number of years, but it's a $1 billion industry. Well, so our people, Sharon, Smith-Akinsanya, have been identified and this is true, ground zero for health disparities. Minnesota is one of the healthiest states in the country, but it's a tale of two cities,
Less.
right?
Right.
We're worse. Black people in Minnesota are in worse health, worse access, worse education outcomes, worse economic outcomes.
Home ownership.
So I'm saying that, but I'm not crying about it. I'm saying that let's look at it and let's fix it. We can fix it, and we need to resolve in our mind that we will go from being last to first. What if Black Minnesota was the healthiest? What if Black Minnesota was the wealthiest?
Woo!
What if Black Minnesota was the most educated of Africans in the West?
See it. I
think we can do it. We got to say it. And it takes communicators like you and me to bring this message forward and to make a demand in society to support our vision, our work, our intent, and what we believe is ours, how we show up. So that's where I'm at.
And that's where I'm at too. And what we put out there, it's possible. And we just need others to be able to articulate that. But I do think that we can go from last to first. I think that we can be the wealthiest. I believe we can be the healthiest. And I think we can be the most educated as well. I think we have because we have all the tools here because we know we are 1, 2, 3 for white folk.
Yeah, right.
So we already got what we need.
Right.
So we just need to just flip the script. So we know we know we can do this. And I think that where there's a will, there's a way. And we have to continue to engage our policymakers of all stripes and make sure that they're held accountable. Because Minnesota will not maintain its competitive edge with regard to workforce of anything if it continues. Then we lose more businesses and more, economic value. So we can't afford to continue this way. It's not good for any of us. So they're going to have to make a change.
What's your picture for the at the end of this tunnel, the other end of COVID-19? What are your hopes and your aspirations for a community and for your business?
I think that, what I'm hoping is that all of our small businesses were able to survive it and hang on because of the pent up energy that's going to be happening at the end of, I think we're going to be ready to go, not honestly until 2022. We'll start to open some things in fourth quarter of 2021 and if you feel comfortable. But I think that we need to take advantage of this time right now to get ready. Because if you're always ready, you don't have to get ready. Make sure you have the tools, your tips, advice, and resources that you need to explode your business. And then when we get to that round the corner for 2021, where we're feeling good, we're going to be just okay. But get the tools you need. Ask for the support. Ask for the help. Ask for the business. We have so much money here in the Twin Cities. We have to, and we're leaving so much of it on the table. And so that's what my hope is. My hope is that we are just going to explode our businesses and nobody will ever say no again to a date, to an opportunity to meet, to an opportunity to get together at a restaurant. And never say no again, because you know what? You can't miss what you never had. But we had this. We had the opportunity to get together. And so we have to be more conscious of how we network, and how we respond to others, because this nobody expected. So my hope is that we get the tools that we need, we get the information that we need, and we're able to be together again, starting at the end of 2021 and then moving into 2022. But get ready now, get what you need, survive, get what you need to get through this. We can do it together.
And in the spirit of cooperation and collaboration, we should also mention the excellent work being done by our colleagues over at the Minnesota Spokesman Recorder.
Absolutely.
Tracy Williams, her team, historic legacy, Black newspaper.
Absolutely.
Powerful work, phenomenal work being done by Pete Rhodes at WRNB radio, obviously KMOJ. Lifeblood, heart and soul of the Black community, right? And all of my colleagues over at KFAI that does diverse and multicultural programming. So there are a lot of players in place, a lot of assets, and we simply need to ensure that we create the revenue streams and pipelines of opportunity that allow these entities to grow to their natural capability of providing the greatest possible service to the marketplace and to our community.
No question. One of the things that I was hopeful about, or hopefully maybe we can still think about it, Al, is, continuing that collaboration that we started to help us secure, the funding to get the word out to our, our coalition, to get the word out to our community, because everybody's not an expert at everything.
Right.
And so we need to be able to examine what our strengths are, that we all have, to bring to bear in a collaboration so that we know where to pull from, so maybe we can reconvene at some point.
What you're talking about, if people don't know it, we actually convened all of the leaders in Asian, Native American, Latino, African immigrant, and African American media, and met with the governor's staff for several weeks under the direction of Senator Bobby Joe Champion and Senator Jeff Hayden. And we had really rich convenings that amplified the need to communicate directly with people of color in the context of our experience, our aspirations, and we validated the value of ethnic media, of culturally specific media as players, because in past, white people would say, oh, if I put it in the Star Tribune or put it on CCO TV, everybody gets it. And that's their mechanism for marginalizing and overlooking or not seeing us. We see ourselves and we show up as ourselves, particularly in our media. So we've done that. I think we should do that again and keep it going.
I do too. And that can happen in every sector, so just like we would start this, maybe another leader can start something in a different sector, and that's how we do the collaboration. We got to keep it going. We have to save ourselves.
Let me take a couple of minutes, Sharon, to ask you to talk about your background. What brings you to this work? Where are you from? Who's your mama? Who's your daddy? Right?
Okay,
and
got it.
I know that what you are is a representative of the ancestors.
Yeah. So thank you for that.
Who had a special work for you to do. And that's the work you're doing right now. Give them some props and talk about what made you the Sharon Smith-Akinsanya that you are today.
Thank you, Al. Just real quick, I'm from Kinloch, Missouri, a suburb out of St. Louis, all Black community, raised with, we had everything we needed. And I'll give you some context, 10 minutes from Ferguson, where Michael Brown was shot, just to give you some context. And we had everything we needed. We had our own schools. We had our own, clinic, doctors. We had our own mortuary, everything was in that community. It was 5,000. But of course, everybody wanted to figure out how to get on that side. You want to get out, you don't know what you got, right? So what was important for my mom, well, let me just give you 2 points of things. Jennifer Lewis, one end, the Black mother of Hollywood, the star of Blackish, was my neighbor, so we,
really?
So she grew up in Kinloch as well.
Okay.
And Representative Maxine Waters also lived in Kinloch. So, just Auntie Maxine. So just a point of reference of Kinloch, right?
It sounds like where Al and I grew up, and it was called Santa Fe Place.
Santa Fe Place. So yeah. Absolutely. So I grew up there. My mom and dad from there. And my mom believed in a strong education, and my dad came from a long line of entrepreneurs, Uncle Rosie, Aunt Dick, Uncle SL, so they had this confectionaries and the supermarkets. But my mom believed in education, and what she would do is she didn't understand that the rich white kids can go to school in the Ferguson Florissant School District, which was where we all wanted to go, which was less than a mile down the road from where we lived. She's like, wait a minute, if we just lived over there, we can go to that school. So what she did was she borrowed addresses off the houses of those homes in that neighborhood. And she drove us to those cul-de-sacs every morning until we were found out and put out of school. And then she borrowed another one. And we did that for 8 years until it was legal.
Oh my goodness.
She did that for 8 years until it was.
That's great.
She said, I'd be in jail now, but the courage, right? And so what was really important about that story is we would cry. We didn't want to do it because we would lose our friends, right? And my mom said, this is why young people need parents. See, I know that if you'll be lucky to have one good friend if you get out of this alive, so I need to make this decision for you.
Right.
About you need to be able to have a good education and understand how to build relationships with people who don't look like you to make it in this world. That's why we're doing it. So full stop. But she technically was borrowing taxpayer dollars, so I mean, so she didn't even think about the risk. She just knew it was something that she had to do. So that's what I was made up. And then my Aunt Rosie and Uncle Dick, they were entrepreneurs. So I worked in their store. And so she taught me how to make sure I saved the quarters. Y'all remember little color handkerchiefs that was embroidered, and the old people put quarters in them and wrap them up like that.
Yep.
So she would teach me how to do it. Always put something aside, baby. So taught me how to save and how to work in the store, how to build the store. She was the core of the neighborhood because all the kids went there after school. She had her water hose that she had cut. So if it was bad, she was ready to get you. And don't be in there doing school hours. Okay.
That's
you
right.
was going to get shooed out of there.
Yep.
So I came from the neighborhood that if you did something crazy, your mom and them knew about it before you got home.
That's right.
You just don't
Sharon,
get away with anything.
I was married to a St. Louis football Cardinal, so I know where Kinloch is.
So you know exactly where Kinloch is, and we're definitely
had a good friend, the Boyds over there, Julia Boyd.
Julia, absolutely, no Julia. Absolutely.
Are you kidding? And Lucia.
Oh, absolutely. Lucia, that's my mom's. These are all friends. Are you kidding me?
We'll have to talk. I'd love to know where she is.
But this is why, you have to have conversations. The world ain't that big, And so Auntie Maxine almost cried when I told her. She says, "Oh my God, and my friend Bertha." And so it's just what it is. So that's what I'm made of. You got to take care of yourself. You got to know how to save money. And you got to stop. You can't walk around soaking up oxygen. You got to help folk. Everybody's not built and born with the same gifts, my mom would say. If you keep hold of your gifts, it's a sin. You have to share those gifts. And so when the pandemic happened, when George Floyd happened, I was in a fetal position. I just shut down. And my mom poked me. And she says, "Hey, little girl, are you done? Are you finished with all this foolishness? I want you to feel it, but now your community needs you and decide what it is you're going to do to add value."
Powerful.
So you can stay stuck, but let's not. But I don't want you to misunderstand, baby girl, she said. You can feel the pain. You just can't stay there. Feel it and move. Feel it and move. Get up out the fetal position, because I was literally in one, literally. And so she said, "Hello," like, you got to get up, baby. She gave me a big old hug, washed my face. I got my stuff together, and I moved on. Because it was hard. It was hard for all of us, not just me.
Yeah.
But she understands. That's why she said, "That's why leadership matters." There's leaders. You got to lead. So go do it. And so my wisdom came from my mother.
Wonderful story. Wonderful.
Powerful.
Well, so, and I'm just so glad that you and Brenda just connected just like that. I mean, who knew, right?
Who knew?
Just like that. That's
the boys. Are you kidding me? Yeah, we got to talk.
That's why we got to talk.
Julia, and we got to do more talking. This is how we learn and share and grow, and connect and figure out how we can help one another. We got to ask the question and mean it. What can I do to help make your life better or easier? What's going on? What's keeping you awake at night?
Sharon, real quick, I just want to say that I just finished an article on the religious leaders that responded to COVID-19. And one of the things from Bishop Washington and from Dr. Reverend Curtis DeYoung, the racial disparities in the hospital. They have observed how Black females were treated and the treatment and the attitudes. And, that is a big issue, I think, in all communities, of addressing the issue of racial disparities and the attitudes that still remain in all of our communities. And the religious leaders are concerned. Even presiding elder Stacy Smith was at the hospital with her sister, and she said, I witnessed it, and it's prevalent. So, and Reverend DeYoung mentioned the fact that we need to look at pre-existing conditions that existed long before these children were born. And we were, in many respects, for lack of insurance, for lack of prenatal care. So it was there, and it was nothing that could be done about it. So there's some big, big ifs and questions when it comes to racial disparities.
It's called racism.
Systemic.
Systemic racism. See, people learn from their societies and their parents. And we're not born this way. You know, they learn from society and their parents and their experiences. And somewhere along the way, they were taught to be afraid of us or envious of us, or, you know, not everybody. I'm not just painting a broad brush, but our disparities exist, and we haven't addressed them as a society, and we also need to address them individually as a community. And I know we started to do that. And Al, you've been instrumental in this. We got to change it. You know, the way we eat, the way we drink, the way we think about, you know, our bodies, our temple. So there's things that, you know, I'm sticking to, Brenda, we must save ourselves. I'm sticking to it.
Yep.
And open up our mouths and learn and understand the questions that we need to ask, and make sure that we have someone with us when we can, you know, when we're going to the hospital and doctors, you know, make sure we're doing our research and be able to advocate for each other and ask smart questions. We already know there's disparities. We know this. So let's be armed with some information so we can ask some smart questions and not be afraid to challenge our providers. And never be alone. We don't have to be alone. Somebody can be on the phone, you know, even if it's a COVID thing. You know, oh, excuse me, doctor, I want to make sure my daughter's on the line. I'm going to get her on the line. Is that okay? You know, with those things, so small things help. Make sure my son is on the line. You know, and the thing that Reverend Stacy Smith was witnessing, I'm sure was just, you know, blew her mind, but she wasn't surprised.
Oh, I don't think any of us are.
Listen, this has been a great conversation. So good to talk to you again, Sharon Smith-Akinsanya. Give people a phone number or how to reach you again. Somebody wants to do some business with you today.
Thank you.
I want to make sure they can get to you.
They can go. Everybody can reach me simply by going online and connecting with me on LinkedIn. So when you connect with me on LinkedIn, all of my contact information is right there on the page. It's the easiest way to do it. You can just inbox me and I respond right back.
Awesome.
So LinkedIn is the best way to connect with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll get together, Sharon. I want to hear about the Boyds.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait, Brenda. Thank you so much for having me. And Al, please, you two, Al, continue the conversation, please. We need you to continue. Don't stop, right?
There we go.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.